Dr. Steve Small, and he is an expert in the field of 35 to 40 years of energy frequency. And Doc Steve, I'll let you give them a little bit more about your background, but we are honored to have you here. If you could just tell them a little bit about why you're so excited about this product coming to the U.S. and world in a way that it can come to every home. Over to you, Doc Steve.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sheila. It's a pleasure to be here. This has been a dream come true for me, a literal dream come true. I've been in practice for the last 43 years, the first half in the field of functional medicine, nutritional medicine, preventive medicine. And then in the late 90s, I started focusing on quantum energetic medicine, which I have been doing since then. At that time, and still today, I use a professional doctor's device. That was the one I have, was developed by NASA. It allows me to scan a person's body, find out all the underlying causes of all of their issues, and then treat them using resonant frequencies. I've worked with over 25,000 individual patients using this technology. It's changed my life and my practice over the years. And I've always had a dream. And my dream was to one day realize a device that was small enough that it could actually be given to patients and other people out there in the world. And so they'd be able to do what I do with my patients on a daily basis and continue that healing process at the leisure and in the privacy of their homes. And that day was realized back in November, when one night I was on the internet, as I usually am in the late evenings, doing research on various topics, and I came across this site in German. And it just was something about the site that piqued my interest. And I delved deeper into it, translated into English, and lo and behold, I couldn't believe my eyes, but I thought I saw my dream come true and realized. Originally, I thought it was the company that I work with that was getting ready to develop a small device, but it was another company, in fact, that had been in operation for the last 15 years in Germany with MDs, a company called Timewaver, that had developed a device similar to the one that I use in my practice that does scanning and treating with frequencies. And they had spent the last 5 years and over $20 million developing the technology to shrink it into a portable size. As you can see here, it's kind of like 2 inches by 2 inches. It's on my lapel here. And allow you, by the use of a secure German medical cloud, to connect up where there's over 144,000 different unique frequencies, and based on that process with apps on your phone, be able to do a complete scan on yourself and then treat yourself for literally any condition that you might have. And this really spans every possible condition, physical, mental, emotional, etc. I'm sure we'll get into that as the evening progresses. And so I contacted the company, sent them an email, told them who I was, told them that I was interested in potentially bringing this device into the United States as a distributor, because I've had a history in the past 15 years of bringing various technology into the US from Europe. And they responded by, well, how opportune is this? We're getting ready to bring the Healy into the United States, and we were looking for somebody like yourself that had background and knowledge to assist us in bringing the device in. And so, of course, I said to them, well, in order to do that, I really need to make sure that this device does what you say it does. And they said, okay, we'll send you one. We'll have you check it out on yourself and some of your patients and others. And then we will kick off the launch in the United States. So I received my Healy back in, I believe it was the beginning of December of this past year. And it led me to where we are today. And it's absolutely exceeded my wildest expectations in every single way. I'm so excited for everyone out there to actually own their own Healy, because I know from the moment you use it, your life will be forever changed. I have my own personal testimonials that I like to share to give you an idea of what it did for me, a number of them actually. I unfortunately was involved in a near fatal car crash in 1993 here in Los Angeles. Luckily, I survived. Almost at the very last second, the ambulance pulled up to me as I said to the person that was in the car next to me, I'm dying, because my lungs had collapsed, my ribs were broken, and my spleen was cut in two, etc. Luckily, they got to me in time, brought me to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, where I spent the next 9 days in intensive care and the next 9 months in rehab. But it left me with some underlying health conditions that I had up until this day. It left me with a condition called peripheral neuropathy. I had something also called reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And basically, those are conditions, nerve damage conditions based on the accident that left me with a situation where my foot was, anyone you know, there's peripheral neuropathies, it turns out, is a very, very common condition out there, and can be people that have had diabetes or other types of conditions wind up with this problem, whereby your feet is always burning, numb, tingling. When you walk on hard surfaces like wooden floors and tile floors, it's like walking over hot coals is the best way I could describe it to you. When I woke up in the morning, the first thing I could, as I became conscious from sleep, the first thing I focused on was my foot, because it was always the first thing that caught my attention. But unfortunately, in the last 1.5 to 2 years, I started noticing that was greatly affecting my driving. And as time progressed, I was less and less capable of driving. Well, after a period of time where I almost got into 4 major accidents, one almost going off of a 3rd-story parking garage, crashing into a brick wall, and then crashing into 2 cars in front of me because I was unable to stop as I was coming to a red light, I decided this is not worth it. I really escaped by the skin of my teeth getting killed in 1993 from a car accident. I certainly don't want to repeat that situation, nor do I want to hurt anybody else. So for the last 1.5 years, I've basically been taking Ubers and Lyfts in LA to get around, or having friends drive me. And, being a practitioner, doc, and knowing all this stuff, I mean, I've done everything in my possible, ability to deal with the situation. And yes, indeed, I have definitely been able to ameliorate the condition. So it wasn't as significant that it was for the past years. But still, the inability to drive really created a sense of loss of independence. And I thought, well, I've tried everything that there was available. I've tried medication, I've tried supplements, I've tried physical therapy, I've tried whatever's been out there. Nothing seemed to work. And I kind of came to the conclusion that maybe I would be left like fate. But I always had a dream and wish that I would find something that would come forward for me that would reverse this and heal this. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened when I got the Healy. Because as I got the Healy, the first thing I did as I looked over the programs that were available, there's over 125 unique programs, and I noticed that there were a number of programs that were designed to work with one's nervous system. So of course, those were the first ones I chose. And I started running them in the evening while I was watching TV. It's very easy to hook up these wrist electrodes. And while I was watching TV, I chose 2 programs that I thought were appropriate, and I ran them. Took about 1 hour and 50 minutes to run the 2 programs. On the 2nd night, I did the same thing. I repeated it again on the 3rd night. And then on the 4th morning when I woke up, something really amazing happened. As I woke up that 4th morning, I didn't feel my foot. In other words, it had no extra sensation of any other part of my body. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Got out of bed, went into the shower on my tile floored shower. I usually take a very quick shower because it's really painful for me to be on a tile floor for any long period of time. Got in the shower and it was like, wow, I can stay in here for 10 minutes, like most people do. Not have any problem whatsoever. There's no pain at the bottom of my feet. And this was great. And so for the rest of the day, I functioned in my office and my foot felt great. Next morning, woke up, same situation, did not feel the tingling and pain in my foot when I woke up, took a shower, no issue. 3rd day, same thing. 4th morning, I woke up, it was the weekend, it was a Saturday morning, I remember, called a friend and said, I need to try an experiment. This is really important. Would you be willing to sit in the passenger seat and allow me to drive? And in case I have an issue, like I've been having for the last 1.5 years, you'll be able to get out real quickly. We'll put the car in park and you'll take it from there. And he said, of course. And I got in my car, started it up, took off, and lo and behold, I was driving normally, to which I am still today driving normally. And I can actually drive 2 hours sometimes when I drive down to San Diego by myself and have absolutely no issues whatsoever anymore. So the neuropathy is gone, the driving issues are gone, and that was in 3 1.5 hour sessions. That's all it took. And I was like, wow, this is absolutely incredible. About a month afterwards, I was out with my dog doing an outdoor agility run in January. It was cold out, and then in the middle of the run, it came down pouring rain. I got soaked, I got cold, got in my car with my dog, came back home. Next morning, I woke up to a headache, chills, body ache, 101 fever, and the first thought was, number one, cancel all my patients for the day. Number two, is this going to be a 5-day experience or a 10-day experience? Because I assumed I had a cold or a flu, whatever. But I had my Healy in my bedroom. So I grabbed the Healy, I hooked myself up, I looked for the programs, I went to the cold flu program, I ran that, and then I also ran a set of what I call is one of the most exciting parts of the Healy, which are what I call the electroceutical programs. And if you don't know what electroceuticals are, you should. If you just put electroceuticals into Google, you'll see that in the last 6 months, there's been articles that have been written in magazines like Time and Newsweek and Scientific America with the heading, Electroceuticals, the Future of Medicine. So what they've been doing in regular medicine right now is trying to establish a technology to allow them to deliver things like chemotherapy and other medications through the body via frequency as opposed to orally and injection, so that we would be able to bypass a lot of the side effects that those medications cause. Well, Healy has come out with even something better. What they have is they have a storehouse of, at this point in time, 72 different substances that you can deliver to your body via what's called electroceuticals, all your vitamins, all your minerals, all your amino acids, and a bunch of other nutrients. So I looked over the list and I decided to give myself vitamin D, vitamin C, and zinc via electroceuticals. And then that night at 7 p.m., I was out having dinner with friends without any symptoms whatsoever. And the cold, it was gone instantaneously. One session in that morning, session for cold and flu, 3 mini sessions, vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, and I reversed whatever that was that I had had. So that, again, was an amazing experience. And then I decided to see if I could start trying it on other people to see what their response would be. My assistant came in one morning, and she has a pit bull, a heavy pit bull, and told me that she came in like totally bent over in pain and said, I picked Sophie up last night before I went to bed, and I should never have done that. And I just totally, and I know people probably out there know, like if you're lifting a lot of heavy weights, if you don't bend your legs, there's always a chance of throwing out your SI joint, your lower back. Well, that's exactly what she did. And so I said to her, instead of using the devices in my office, would you be willing to try out this new device that I have? And she said, absolutely. So I said, okay, sit down, let's see what happens. She said beforehand, I need to go to the restroom. She crawled on it, literally crawled on her hands and knees on the carpeted floor of my office to the restroom, came back, sat down, hooked her up, ran the program for pain first, and then the program for lower back issues. And at the end of about 1 hour and 50 minutes, I turned to her and said, okay, it's done. And she instinctively stood up. And the look on her face when she stood up, I wish I would have taken a picture, because it was like a bewilderment and surprise. Because first of all, she stood straight up. But when she came into the office, she was bent over. And then I asked her, what's your pain level on a scale of 0 to 10? And she said a 2. I said, well, that's pretty great. She said, that's amazing. So went about our day. She went home. I called her the next morning to ask her how she was doing. And she said, well, all I can say to you was, you saw how I came to you yesterday. I am completely 100% back to normal. The interesting thing, the thing I didn't tell you, is that that morning she had also, before she came into the office, she visited her chiropractor. And she said to me, you know, usually when I go to a chiropractor, I get an adjustment, I feel good. I went to my chiropractor, nothing happened at all. I left the chiropractor just as out of balance as I was beforehand. So that was another experience that I had with somebody else besides myself. And these are the types of experiences I am having on a daily basis with patients, and also people that come to see me that want to try the Healy out. They'll come in, they'll say, oh, this is interesting. I'll hook them up. I'll either scan them and find out what the device wants to choose to treat them with, or I'll let them select a program or ask them what their issue is. And before the end of the talk, the person turns to me and said, how can I get this? I already can tell that what I'm dealing with here has already been improved. So what I can say to you is that it's an amazing device. It's for what I spent $40,000 on a similar device in my office. I can tell you that the Healy does a better job of reversing conditions than even my device does. Very affordable, completely easy to use. Anybody can use it out of the box. It takes about 15 minutes to plug it in, to charge it, to set it up. And from that point on, you have a device that will allow you to pretty much, as the Germans say, treat everything, and basically treat the underlying cause as opposed to just treat the symptoms. So again, you know, when you get it and try it, you'll understand what I'm saying. And the good news is that in just a few days, most of the people that are on this call will have ordered their devices. They'll have them in a couple of days. And by the time we do the next doctor's call next Wednesday, hopefully we will have some more testimonials, because as of now, I'm pretty much one of the few people in the US that actually had a device for 4 months. And I'm so looking forward to everybody else being able to come in and share all of their exciting stories and wins. So that's a little bit of an overview of my personal experience with the Healy and why I'm just so excited to bring this technology forward to the US. So back to you, Sheila.
Thank you, Doc. Every time I hear your story, I just get more anxious to get my hands on the Healy. So I know that we have an FDA approval in Europe and an FDA clearance here in the USA. Could you explain to everyone exactly what that means, and then elaborate a little bit? I know we've used words tonight like treat, but we're not specifically picking certain, ailments or diseases when we make these claims. So if you could just elaborate on the compliance side and on the FDA clearance, that would be awesome.
I use that, unfortunately, I have to always watch. That's a typical, I mean, I've been using that languaging, unfortunately, for 40 years. It's hard for me sometimes to not use that word because it's the word I use in my practice. So, but we like to use the word balance. Balance is a much better word to use when we're dealing with a device like this. So an FDA clearance is, you have to go through a process with the FDA because clearances are used for various types of devices, whereas approvals are used for drugs. So just to be a little bit more specific here, in the US, it's the FDA. In Europe, they don't have an FDA. They have something called a CE that they get their approval through. So it's a little bit of a different process. And the clearance allows us to specifically state those types of conditions that it has been cleared for use in the US. With us in the US, it's been cleared for a lot of issues revolving pain and lower back and things of that nature. But in Europe, they're fortunate in that they have a much wider range or variety of conditions that they can talk about there. So in Europe, it's been cleared for things like anxiety, depression, headaches, migraine, sleep disorder, pain, fibromyalgia, and all of those conditions. In the US, unfortunately, it's much tighter rules and regulations. So we only can say publicly that's been cleared for pain and chronic back issues, arthritis, and things of that nature. But from what I told you, you can draw your own conclusions in terms of what it actually can do and more. Again, I'll repeat that the Germans say this treats every condition because it treats the underlying cause. And when you're able to deliver the correct frequencies into your body, miracles happen in a real short period of time.
Well, I know that we have sold, what, thousands of Healys over the last year, like around 32,000?
48,000.
Yes. Wow. And only, and actually only 100 returned, I heard. So 90.
Less than 100 have been returned.
That's amazing.
The acceptance rate for this device now, after the last year, is 96%. 96% of the people that try this device purchase this device, and I don't know of any product whatsoever of any kind in any specific category where you have that high a rate of acceptance. So I'll let you know again that once a person tries the device for the very first time, they're hooked, and they'll never give it away. It becomes their friend for life because, as I said, it doesn't just treat physical issues, but it also treats mental issues, emotional issues. It deals in the range of fitness, weight loss. It deals in the range of job stress. It deals with children in terms of learning and study. It deals with anti-aging, elasticity of the skin. There's nothing that can affect you on any level that the Healy doesn't work with you with. It's truly an amazing device that can be used for pretty much any condition you might come across.
Wow, Doug, Steve, I have a question for you. You know, you're a doctor. We're not doctors and therapists. A lot of us are not. And how, you know, do we have to have medical knowledge? And is it safe? And are we going to be assured that if we are, you know, showing it to someone that it is safe? Can you address that?
Absolutely. First of all, no, any layperson can easily use the device and share the device. There's a wonderful technology that comes along with the device, which is something that I had never seen before, and probably I would say 99.9% of the US population hasn't seen, which is called a video brochure. And it is exactly what it sounds like. There is a brochure that you get that's packed in the box. It's about 5 by 7. And when you open it up, there's an actual video screen in there, like the size of your phone, that has 6 different videos already stored in it. And all you need to do is press a button and it does a presentation similar to some of the videos you showed. So in terms of the explanation, a person doesn't actually have to even explain it to somebody else. All they have to do is just press the videos and let the videos speak for themselves. Also, unlike the devices that doctors use, which take at least 6 months worth of training to get up to speed, you can literally take the Healy out of the box, read some of the startup instructions, and it's a plug and play device, which means basically you download the apps, you connect it to your phone, you turn it on, it connects to your phone via Bluetooth, and then you have a choice of either just going through the programs and choosing the one you want, and you press a button, it starts the program, or what you can do is if you have one of the editions that do the analysis, press the analysis button, it'll do a quick analysis of you and let you know exactly which one it has decided that your body needs most. And you never have to worry because we use artificial intelligence with this device. So it will always monitor your body in the moment, and you can never overtreat yourself. You can never treat yourself wrong. You can never give yourself too many frequencies. You can never harm anybody because there's an automatic back and forth artificial intelligence that will shut off if, in fact, when you reach that point where your body gets all the frequencies that it needs. The only contraindications I want to point out here, which are something that's important to know, it's in all the materials, are basically 3. One is obviously if somebody's wearing a pacemaker, it's something you would not necessarily want to use, at least initially, because we don't want to interfere with the electrical signal of the heart. Also, if somebody has frequent epileptic seizures, when you're dealing some of the brain programs, it potentially could trigger an epileptic seizure. And also a pregnant woman, we wouldn't want to run this on too, because again, we always want to protect pregnant women against everything, and it's more of a legal situation there. Not that it's going to harm a pregnant woman. If anything, I think it would enhance the pregnancy. You know, the company all companies out there, you can go to a health food store and pick up a bottle of vitamins, and on the bottom it says not safe for pregnant women, because nobody wants the liability of something happening to an unborn child and then being blamed that it was because they did something. So it's one of those at your own risk situations. So those are the 3 conditions primarily that I would recommend, especially with a new person that you're showing it to, that if they're in any of those 3 categories, that you don't, in fact, hook them up to the device to demo it. There are other ways of demoing the device without having to actually hook them up, which are what I consider to be totally safe. But for now, those 3 conditions I wouldn't address with somebody.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Steve. Should we go on to questions, Sheila, from the thread? Because we're
Yes, absolutely. Now, I know we have several other doctors that are on the call tonight. Dr. Charles Quigless can't get on, so he's our chiropractor from down in St. Louis who has about 20 years experience in the energy frequency space. he can't get on the call, so we'll have to hear from him next week. Dr. Jim Hayes is actually not on the call tonight, but there are some other doctors, and if you have anything to add, if you'll just drop your name in the chat box, we'll be happy to bring you onto the call and hear your excitement, or if you have questions, anyone on this call that has questions, drop the questions now into the chat, and Terry's going to be asking Doc Steve to answer some of those questions. But Terry, before we get into question and answers, I do have Dr. Gordon Jones on the call tonight. And Dr. Gordon, there you are. So Dr. Gordon has been on board here with me for almost a month. He's running full steam ahead with about 70 personally sponsored people into the business. So he is actually a doctor in the health administration side of things. But Dr. Gordon Jones, before we go back to Dr. Steve to ask questions, I'd just like for you to share your excitement of where we're going here with this incredible technology.
Yes, and thank you, Sheila, and good to see you, Dr. Steve and Terry. I appreciate the time. So yes, I'm very excited about this because, and I have my partner on the call with me tonight. So we're in the all natural organic foods business. And so when you first shared this with me, Sheila, I was totally focused on the digital nutrition app and what it could do for us in the food business and helping our customers to be able to determine which foods they needed to eat that day in order to get the nutrients that their body needed based upon the assessment from the Healy system. But then the other thing that I did the other day that I would like to share with everybody is, so I am currently taking about 3 different supplement company sets of supplements. So in other words, 3 companies in order to get the specific nutrients that I already know I want and need. And I'm spending on an annual basis almost $4,000 a year for these products. And when we look at the Healy Digital Nutrition app program specifically, and I've determined that which ones I can replace with frequencies with a device that I buy one time. I'm over a 30-year period because I'm almost 60 and I'm planning on living to at least 90, if not longer. I'm going to save $122,000 in paying for supplements on a monthly and annual basis over the next 30 years because I have the Healy. So I put together a little video about this as a return on investment. And I talk to people all the time who are going to the chiropractor on a regular basis. Certainly we want to help them maintain the relationship with their healthcare provider, but it may mean that they have fewer visits. And so that's another ROI that as we start getting into this, we want to think about not just what the cost of the device is, but what's the return on investment in regards to how we start to lower our costs of healthcare. And that's what I'm really excited about this technology for. And without even you being able to use it myself yet, I've been able to share the idea of all this with my network. And yes, actually I'm up to 84 people. So, so yeah, we've been having fun.
That's amazing, Gordon. You know, one thing I want to point out, I want to add to what you're talking about. You're absolutely correct. But there's another issue here too that maybe you can throw into the mix, which is that, you know, in the 40 some odd years that I've been in practice, one of the biggest issues that walks into my office is gastrointestinal issues. And so there's no way to know when you take a supplement, actually how much of that supplement you're actually absorbing in your system. I read a report that said we only absorb maybe 10% of what we take of any particular vitamin or mineral supplement. Whereas when you're delivering that supplement or that vitamin or that nutritional to your body electroceutically, you're getting 100% in every cell of the body simultaneously. So that has to be added also, I think, not only the money aspect, which you're absolutely accurate about, no longer have to going out and buying and purchasing supplements all the time,
yeah,
but the ability to get the 100% of the value of what those supplements give, instead of maybe hoping, having fingers crossed that based on one's digestive system, we're getting 10% or maybe 20% of the actual effectiveness of any individual supplement.
Yeah, and that's always been the case with that whole industry is how much are we really wasting and passing through just just on that, which is why my partner and I are in the all natural organic foods business, to get rid of the hormones, steroids, pesticides, antibiotics, and have the cleanest food that we can ingest, because we still have to eat, right? But yeah, I think the Healy and all the programs are going to be a great complement to what we're doing. And of course, everything, all the other benefits that come along with it. So I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you. We're glad to have you on board, Dr. Gordon.
I'm still muted there. Thank you, Dr. Gordon Jones. We so much appreciate your value to our team, and of course to sharing Healy with the world. Terry, I know you're looking there at the questions in the chat. If we do have anyone on that would like to unmute or ask a question, you can feel free to do so. But Terry's kind of going back and forth here and watching the chat box. Terry, are there any questions specific there that you would like to ask the doctor for our guest?
Okay, yeah, I think we'll go through them, and we will ask some of these. Some of them, first of all, Doc Steve or one of the other doctors on the calls, is it if someone has an irregular heartbeat and 2 heart ablations, can they use the Healy?
Absolutely. There's no contraindication for that. And there are many programs specifically designed to work directly with the heart and to work with circulation. And if I was to recommend some programs, those would be the ones that I would recommend just right off the top of my head to start out with. But there's a function in the Healy that I want to bring forward that I think is one of the most amazing parts of the Healy, which is the search function. The search function is basically an expert database. And what I mean by that is that when you get the Healy, you can type in any specific symptom that you have, any condition that you have, any disease that you have. You type it into the box, and it will specifically tell you which programs you should run based on that suggestion. And that has been assembled by a team of doctors that have been working with the mother device over the past 15 years. They've come up with protocols over those years. And so say, for example, you had an arrhythmia, I would type arrhythmia into the box, and it would specifically tell you which programs and which sequence it is suggesting that you run in order to treat that particular condition. Okay,
excellent. Now, someone said that maybe I'm not familiar with a TENS unit, but I'm sure you are with a are you familiar with a TENS unit? They said you can actually cause some damage to the heart to become irregular.
Well, a TENS unit puts out the amount of electricity that is put out from a TENS unit is about 100 to 1,000 times the amount that this device uses in terms of microcurrent. So there's no way that that could happen with this device. You know, the current that's given is given because, you know, the body is an electric unit. I like to liken the body to the easiest way when I describe this to people is to say, you know, we're like flashlights. We're electrical, obviously, because we can do EKGs and EEGs on a cell, which means we're electrical. We need to take certain electrolytes and minerals to keep our cell functioning and drink a lot of water to stay hydrated to create that electrical current. And so we're like a flashlight. And as the batteries start to drain from a flashlight and the light starts to dim, well, that's exactly what happens in our body. At that level of energy, those millivolts from negative 70 millivolts start to lessen in our body. We start getting into situations where we first have inflammation, and then we have chronic disease. And then, you know, if it gets really low, say in the negative 20 millivolt range, we may develop tumors and cancer. And then, of course, what happens when we hit 0 millivolts and we have no electrical current in our body? Well, that's the end of life at that point. So what the Healy does, it's basically like continually changing the batteries when they run out. We constantly maintain that level of charge in our body at the negative 70 millivolts level, which keeps our cells in perfect function. And what the frequency does, which overrides the microcurrent, is that is like the person driving the car. That directs the current to go into those organs or areas of the body that need it to most to heal. You know, it's always been said that our bodies regenerated themselves on a cellular level every 7 years, which means that if we tag the cell in your body right now, 7 years from now, it would no longer be there because the body continually regenerates the organs. So you can ultimately look at this as a way to eventually regenerate all of the organs of your body. And I just had, before this Zoom, I had a conversation with a doc on the phone, and we were talking about the fact that Healy could be the ultimate anti-aging device. Because if we can keep our cells at the negative 70 millivolt level and keep those batteries recharged, we can extend life to who knows how long, because we're constantly creating new cells, vital cells, and that's how, you know, the body works and how it's established. So that's an exciting, you know, new area to look at. Plus, when I first got involved, I got to be able to be connected to the whole medical department, and we've had a lot of conversations back and forth. And I remember them saying to me with one of the first conversations, they said, Steve, you got to realize that what you're going to see here is literally the tip of the iceberg. We are working every single day behind the scenes, every single day, to create hundreds and hundreds of new types of programs, accessories, and everything that are coming down the pike. So they're going to be introducing one of the next programs that's coming down the pike is an animal program. So you'll be able to treat animals, dogs, cats, horses. There's going to be a weight loss program specifically. There's going to be a program, as I mentioned, for anti-aging. There's going to be a program, I've been told, to assist people in learning languages real quickly. I mean, they have so many things that are lined up. There's a stem cell program that's going to be coming out shortly that's going to be able to rejuvenate and regenerate various organs of the body. I mean, it's endless. They have a 10-year plan to keep releasing into you know, our devices new and great programs. I want to share something with you, which I thought was one of the most amazing things that happened just you know, at the very beginning of me getting involved with the company. As we know, we are currently worldwide dealing with a very, very serious health condition right now that's going around that everybody is worried about. And so they realized that this was an important factor, and they wanted to help us out. So they got together, the team of docs, and they came up with a program, a prevention program and treatment program that they established. And then in a few days later, they literally sent it out to every single person's Healy that has, all 48,000 people that have Healys got this free program. And they let us know through an email that they were sending this program because of the current condition that we're dealing with here, health-wise, through the world, and that to run that program every single day. And so just the fact that they were on top of that, and to be able to put that together and then to literally send it out to everybody and to do it for free, because many times when new programs come out, there may be a bit of an upgrade fee in order to get those additional programs, but they felt that, you know, their purpose is really health and healing, not the money. And I can tell you honestly, having had a close relationship now with the heads of all the different departments in the company, their focus is in healing, that they wanted to make that available. And so that alone, to me, is an amazing, you know, benefit of having this device, is the ability for them to step in at any moment and come up with new programs that they feel are necessary in the moment for certain worldwide conditions, and then just release it. Like when you start up an app and it says update available, I opened up the program one morning to treat myself. It said update available. I pressed the button and instantaneously the new program was downloaded on my device, and I started using it, and I actually do use it every single day.
That's amazing, Doc Steve. We've got some questions, and I know from previous calls that you can't really comment on specific diseases, whether it improves
Correct.
specific diseases. So some of the ones where you've got questions in here for specific diseases, then what do you say about that, doctors? Just specific diseases?
So what I do is I don't comment on specific diseases because, again, you know, being an FDA device, we have to be real careful about what we say here. I have known many other companies in the nutritional aspect, and you probably read in the newspaper last week, at least I did here in LA, that the FDA sent letters to 15 supplement companies in the last week that somehow said in their advertising or on their websites that their supplements would, you know, treat or cure COVID-19, and immediately they were told that if they don't take that info down immediately, they're going to be cease and desist order. So we never want to put out anything to the factor that we can treat or cure any diseases at all. So when somebody sends me a question about does it work with this or that or whatever, again, I repeat the fact that As the company says, it treats everything. So that should give you some information. But then I also direct people to a really great Facebook site that you don't have to even join. You can just go to it. It's called The Healy Experience. The Healy Experience. And there's a second one, I believe it's called Healy Global Experience or The Global Experience. And both of those websites are filled with hundreds and hundreds of testimonials on every single condition you can imagine from all of the European and Asian people that have been using the device over the last year. So I would say look there first. We can, a person's testimonial is legal if it talks about what happened to them, but we can't share somebody else's testimonial because that becomes a claim. But you can look at other people's testimonials and you'll get the idea right there. So I really tell people, I direct them to those two Facebook sites to get that information, answered.
Okay, thank you, Doc Steve. Now, here's a question, and I don't know if you guys have this down the States. Someone said they hadn't heard of it. Do you have the Dr. Ho product down in the States? Dr. Ho. No, that's what I was wondering. So there's no doctors from Canada on here that it's kind of like an electrode. You put it on and it actually just starts to send electric into your muscles, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of different, let me tell you the basic difference between our device and every other device on the market, every other frequency device, because we have a very specific, it's a very easy way to distinguish our device from all other frequency devices out there. And the best way to do that is, because I'm familiar with pretty much every device on the market, and I can actually say that because over the past 25 years, I've seen everything. Everything's come down the pike. There are many companies that actually send me devices for free because they know my familiarity with them and they want me to promote or use whatever. And so the difference between our device and other frequency devices is that other frequency devices, including things like PEMF devices, rife frequency devices, any of those frequency devices, they all what I are called static frequency devices, static frequency devices. And the reason that I use that terminology is because with all of those frequency devices, what happens is if you have a certain disease or you have a certain condition and you want to use those devices, basically you have a book that you look at and you have the listing of all the conditions and all the diseases, and next to those names are the different frequencies that you use. And basically what you do is you dial in those frequencies and you use a device, and the next day you dial in those frequencies and use the same frequencies again, and the same on the third and every other day that you're treating that condition. And also everyone else on the planet is using those same frequencies, right? Well, I can be the first to tell you that medicine is not a one-size-fits-all situation. That's the one thing in my office and my practice that I started on day one, which is the whole concept of biochemical individuality. There's no one-size-fits-all. And that's why diets don't work. Because if there was one diet out there that was the diet, then wouldn't everybody be on that diet and everybody losing weight? So the key is that all other frequency devices uses the concept of one size fits all. And they use a cookbook approach, I like to call it, to medicine by looking at a book and seeing what you do. Whereas the Healy is totally different. The Healy adjusts to the body. I call it a dynamic frequency approach to distinguish it from a static frequency approach. In that when you use a Healy, you will actually see on your device which specific frequencies come down. And there's 144,000 unique frequencies in the cloud. And our frequencies go from 1 to 1 million hertz. That's the range, which is broader than any other device that I have ever seen. But the key is that when you treat something with the Healy, or when you use the Healy to work with and balance an issue in the body, you'll notice that those frequencies change from day to day. So what you're treating on day one, even if you're treating the same condition and you go to day two to run that same program, a whole different set of frequencies will come down. And if you go on day three, a whole other different frequencies come down on day three for that same condition. And if I had 10 people in a room and I was treating them all, for example, for a broken arm, if I looked around at their phones, I would see that each one of them have a specific different set of frequencies that are coming down for that, quote, same condition. That's because of the artificial intelligence aspect of the Healy device that those other devices do not have. There's a direct communication once you hook up the device that goes into our secure German cloud that is a communication that happens during the entire process of being treated, where those frequencies go back and forth, and only the ones that your body needs, the ones that your body is in resonance with for that specific condition, are the ones that come down from the cloud to treat you. And so obviously, once you treat yourself on the second day, your body is now in a different state than it was on day one. So you're going to need different frequencies on day 3, et cetera, et cetera. And somebody else, even though they have the same medical condition, because of what's going on in their body, a whole different set of frequencies will be what's correct for them. So that's the difference between devices out there. Ours versus the Healy versus everything else that's out there. Static versus dynamic. And to me, that alone is enough to tell people the benefit there. And I think anyone that's in that field will immediately understand the difference and know why ours device is so much more exceptional than anything else that I have ever seen.
So we have a category creator here then, Doc Steve.
Absolutely a category creator. Yes, there's been nothing ever like this on the planet. And those of you who are in network marketing, there hasn't been any other FDA approved or cleared products that I know of that have been sold in the network marketing space. So we have a unique situation of never having seen that, the FDA clearance, and a category creator.
That's awesome. And what do you think about the timing of this product in your practice, and how do you use it in your practice, Doc Steve?
Well, timing is amazing, actually, and I'm not surprised that this came forward right now because of what's going on specifically in the current situation. I mean, this is the first time in history that I can ever think of, in recorded history probably, where every single person on the planet, imagine that, is all thinking about the same thing simultaneously. When has that ever happened? I don't think it has ever happened. Everyone is focused on 2 things. Number 1 is their health and their health status, and number 2 is, what am I going to do to support myself to make money now that I've been let go from my job, I've been put on hold, and the Healy came along just at this moment in time to be able to offer the ability to deal with both of those issues simultaneously. Not only is it an incredible tool for healing, but it's an incredible tool for prevention, okay? And in all the reports that I have been reading about the situation we're going through right now, it's not one of those things where this thing is going to disappear right away from what I've been told. They say it's going to return again in the fall, maybe even worse, and it may be returning for a number of years over and over again. So wouldn't you want a device that you can actually bring your immune system to its utmost health and have a preventive tool? But then also, since we're all stuck in our homes right now and we can't go outside, but we all have computers and cell phones, what a perfect time to think of going into a home-based opportunity. Even those people that never, ever, ever would have even considered dealing with a home-based opportunity are now saying, I have no other choice. So it really fits both of those needs simultaneously, which is kind of an amazing thing. And I think that's why, at least with the people that I have shared this with, it's just taken off. I have not received, in the amount of time that I've been sharing this, not one person has said no to me. And we're talking about both professionals and lay people. Everyone just can't wait to get their hands on it. And I use it in the way I will be using it in my practice is that I'm going to, when patients come in to see me and they work with me in treatments, I'm going to tell them about the Healy and say, hey, you know what? There is a device that you can get that will allow you to continue the treatment that I'm doing with you on a visit basis and continue the healing process when you leave here. So you do it every single day so that when you come back to me, you'll be in a better place than if you had left and done nothing. So I think it fits in, in all different arenas, and it works nicely with doctors and other practitioners to extend the benefit of the healing process. Because ultimately what we're trying to do here as part of what I've always tried to do in my practice is to turn the responsibility of someone's health back over to them. Don't rely on the health practitioner to heal you. It's all about self-healing. It's all about healing yourself. And what a perfect tool to be able to do that in a very easy, inexpensive way.
Absolute self-care. It's the age of self-care is the new healthcare, right? Self-care is the new healthcare.
Yes, absolutely.
That's excellent. Now, Sheila, I think we have another doctor on that we want to ask a similar question to. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Dr. Steve, for your expertise. I believe Dr. Charles Quigless is on his internet was a little unstable, but Dr. Quigless, are you with us? Dr. Q?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. So I would like to
How
ask
are
you the
you?
same. I'm fantastic. How are you? Now, Dr.
Good.
Quigless, you have been in this space as a chiropractor for what, 15 or 20 years now, right?
Yes.
So when
Yes, I have.
so when you called me a few weeks ago and I shared this with you and the lights started coming on, what did you think with the timing of this and how it is applicable to your practice?
Yeah, I'm kind of like Dr. Steve too. The different devices that I have used have also had quite a few frequencies. Actually, just like his, about 150,000 different frequencies that I run your body's frequency against. And it's wonderful how I can diagnose different things and actually have a remedy for you in the form of a frequency, because our bodies are all energy. That's all we are, is energy and matter. And what we do is we find out what frequencies align with you and which ones don't agree with you. And we figure out a way, well, actually with me, I emit the frequencies that you don't agree with and change your body's response from a negative response to a positive response, imprinting that into your central nervous system. And the next time you're exposed to those type of frequencies or that particular matter, you don't respond the same. And you respond positively instead of negatively. And that can go with pain or allergies or all kinds of different things. And with this, with how it is now, with the state of the world, with the COVID-19, everybody's going to be afraid to go into the doctor's office or to go to the ER, or the doctor might be afraid to actually treat the patient for fear of catching whatever they may have. And so this is the timing is perfect for this. This is a way to be able to treat the patient without necessarily being right in their space. And actually you and just like Dr. Steve said, you're not necessarily treating a disease, you are treating the patient that may have the condition. And a side effect of what we do is that their condition gets better.
Agreed. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Quigless, I always love the way that you phrase that. It's so professional, and I'm very honored to be working with you. And thank you. It was his idea to actually create this professional call for the medical professionals. We were talking, and he said, "Well, do we have a doc call?" And I said, "Nope, that's a great idea." So here we are, our third call in, and we've maxed out our capacity for seating. So it was a good thing you thought of there, Dr. Q.
Yeah, I almost didn't get on this one.
I know.
I got maxed out of it.
We kicked out the guy with the plan there for about 45 minutes. But thank you for your expertise and for joining our call tonight, and we appreciate you very much, sir. But Terry, I know we have some more questions. And if thank you, and Doc Steve, if we could just maybe just hurry through a few of these questions. So we may not get to them all, but if we could get some of them answered. I know our guests have come on. Some of them are new to either the Healy business or they're, anticipating getting the Healy. And so if we could just get a few more questions answered before, we've run a little bit over our hour now, Terry, but if we could get a few more questions answered, I think that would be awesome.
Okay, we do have some questions on the FDA. I will, at the end, I am going to pull up the guidelines for the European and also the FDA so that you guys can see actually the disclaimers. And from now on, we will post those at the beginning of the call. So I apologize for not having those up, but I will pull them up at the very end. Now, there's a question, Doc Steve. You know the search function that you talked about, is that available on all the packages, or do we have to have the reticence to do that?
I believe that it's an add-on app that's a subscription app. And I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, it's available for all, but the problem comes in that if you only have, say, the Healy Gold, which has, you know, maybe 2 program sets to it, and you'd use the search function, it may direct you to so many other different types of programs that you don't have. So I usually recommend it with people that actually have the resonance package or one of the higher packages, because you'll be frustrated if you keep searching things in and it says to run, you know, this program, that program, and you look at your package and say, I don't have any of those programs. So I believe anyone can get that because it's a separate subscription that you add on, but it's best used along with the Resonance or the Healy Holistic Plus packages.
Okay, perfect. This is kind of a general thing, not really talking about disease, but are there programs for like hearing programs?
Well, there are programs to balance all organs. So there would be programs for the ears, if that's what you're asking.
For ears and eyes. Ears and eyes.
You know, when you look at things like hearing, it's not just the ears. Then you're also looking at circulation. You're also looking at the nervous system. There are many components that comprise the actual hearing process. But again, if you do have the search function, you can put hearing in, or loss of hearing, or deafness, or tinnitus, or whatever is related to that condition you're looking at, and it will specifically tell you which program sets that they have learned over in Germany over the last 12 to 15 years that have worked for patients, and they'll make those recommendations.
Oh, exciting. Okay, perfect. Now, can you also address, you know, removing toxins like mercury from the body, like chelation therapy does?
It does detoxificate. There are detoxification programs in the Healy to remove various toxins. You know, the one, it's not really a contraindication. It's more of a caution, which is that if you're running the detox programs, it's best not to do some of the heavy detox programs if you still currently have any mercury amalgam fillings that are in your mouth, because you may start to chelate out that mercury in your body. So that's the only it's caution with the detox programs, that you don't want to pull mercury out of the fillings if you still have fillings in your mouth. You know, one thing I've said for 40 years in my practice is all my patients that have silver fillings still in, you know, to go to a biological dentist and have them removed, because I can't do a chelation on you if you have those fillings in your mouth, because I'll just be pulling the mercury out of your teeth and putting them right into your bloodstream, and that'll make you sick. So that would be the only caution I would have. But then you can do programs to detox the liver, detox the kidneys, detox the lymphatic system, detox the skin, which are your 4 major organs of elimination. Those absolutely you can do.
So if we've in the past had a lot of amalgamine fillings that we've got taken out, we may still.
If they're out, that's a different story. If they're
right,
out, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And
so if we've done that, Doc Steve, so do you think there could be residual mercury from those amalgamine fillings that this would help get out of your system? If you
there is absolutely residual mercury, because you have to realize when you have mercury fillings in your mouth for, you know, 10, 20 years or however time it is, when you chew and eat foods, you release mercury just by the fact of eating, and that ultimately winds up in your blood circulatory system. So there's always a level of mercury in your blood, because you can do a blood test and find out, literally test your levels of mercury, it's there. So we know that it has to be in your blood if we're taking a blood test and we can get a level of mercury reading. So yeah, I always tell people that after they have their mercury fillings removed, then it's time to do some form of a chelation or a detox process. And you can use the Healy, because there are many programs in the detox portion of this that will allow you to release some of the burden of heavy metals, mercury, lead, you know, arsenic, aluminum, etc. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now quickly, we still got time for a few more questions, Sheila?
Sure.
Okay. Are there any, this is a question, are there any placebo-controlled studies with the Healy?
No, I mean, you know, placebo-controlled studies are used for drugs primarily, and honestly, they cost millions and millions and millions of dollars to run any kind of a study on any kind of substance like that. So, no, I mean, you know, we're in a different space. We're not comparing ourselves to pharmaceuticals. We're not comparing ourselves to medical devices. This is a whole different space of healthcare and medicine. And so we're not, there's no reason to really do those kinds of studies because we have anecdotal evidence that this works. The reason we have anecdotal evidence is because as you look on any of those sites with the testimonials, why are people reversing issues, conditions, diseases, and getting well quickly if the device doesn't work? I mean, I don't have to do a study on electricity to turn my light switch on in my house. And, we all know that, there's no reason for us to have to do that. We don't have to, there are many studies out there that shows that frequency-specific microcurrent absolutely works for conditions. There's hundreds of those studies that we can lead you to online, and there's also in your back office, there's documents that bring us to that. But in terms of specific diseases, in order to do something like that, it would literally cost, in this day and age, like $1 billion to do that. And why? I mean, that's not the purpose of what we're doing here. Most people now, they say that, oh, there was a great article that just got released this week, by the way. And I just saw it, and I thought the timing was impeccable. Currently, there's an article that showed up a few days ago that said we spend that the energetic medicine field is a $2.8 billion a year field right now. In other words, people that are into alternative health and alternative medicine, but specifically energy medicine, it is a $2.8 billion a year industry. So the bottom line is that there are so many millions of people out there that already are into this. How many people do you know that do homeopathy? To me, homeopathy is the original energy medicine when you think about it. When I first got into the 70s, when I started doing my practice, the first thing I studied, went to training is to be trained in homeopathy, because that is the most classic energy medicine that stems from like the 1700s. So, and by the way, we do have a whole homeopathic materia medica in this device. Those of you who know about homeopathy will understand materia medica. It's a compendium of all the homeopathic remedies that you can actually scan yourself for and then deliver those specific homeopathic remedies into your body directly, just like the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. We also have, for people that are knowledgeable, all of the Bach flower remedies and the flower essence remedies, because we do treat mental, emotional issues as well as physical issues, and those energetic remedies work on that realm. And those are included as databases in everyone's, no matter what edition you have, in everyone's device.
Okay, and just for those people that like to research, we always say that, there are 17,000 studies just on frequencies alone. This is not the Healy specific, but if you want to do some studies, there's 17,000 studies on frequencies, and they can be found at www.clinicaltrials.gov. And there's 45 peer-reviewed studies on frequencies in www.pubmed.gov. So that's, like I said, not specific to the Healy, but to frequencies in general. So lots of stuff for you to look at there.
But you need to realize, Terry, that just the fact that we got the FDA clearance as a Class 2A medical device should tell you right away. I mean, if this was a device that was out there that had no sort of certification or classification, yeah, you can ask that question about double-blind studies, but we obviously had enough research behind our device, the Healy itself, that allowed the FDA to award us a Class 2A medical device classification, which they don't just give out like, to anything. Trust me, it's a very hard classification to get. I have brought many devices from Europe into the United States over the years that were not able to get that Class 2A medical certification. They didn't pass the muster of being able to provide the information and the research to the FDA. The fact that we have that alone should be enough for anyone, because I'll tell you, I interact with a lot of other health practitioners and professionals, and I speak in front of seminars with practitioners, and I talk about the Healy device. And when I start out, I always tell them that this is a medical Class 2A device. And as soon as I say that, it takes any consideration that any other health practitioner has about using or not using the device in their practice. Because once they hear that, they know that it's safe. And they know that it's something that's been tested and proven, and I don't have to go further with them. So that's my response to the double-blind situation.
Okay, perfect. Now we have a question. There's a 8-year-old boy that was in a serious motorcycle accident and just came out of surgery yesterday. is he too young to benefit from helping?
Oh, no, not at all. As a matter of fact, coming out of surgery, using this device, I mean, there's a story out there of a famous football player for the Philadelphia Eagles who had a major injury a number of years ago, and the Super Bowl was coming, and the team was in the Super Bowl, and he was a very important player on the team, and it was said that he had to have surgery, and it was said that he would never, ever be able to play in the Super Bowl because of the amount of months that it would take for him to heal. And so they called on Dr. Carolyn McMadin, who was on our medical advisory board. She is one of the founders of frequency-specific microcurrent. They flew her to Philly. They used her device on him every single day, and literally he cut the healing time down by more than half, and he played in the Super Bowl. It's a famous story that I can send some information out to people if they're interested. So of course, if somebody is undergoing any kind of surgery, you want to literally hook them up to the Healy as soon as they come out of surgery and start running the specific programs to get the healing process sped up, tenfold.
Okay, excellent. Now another question about connecting the Healy. We know that we can connect it for 5 phones, but if you decide to remove one number, can you put in another number?
I believe so, yeah. There's a way to do that.
Okay, perfect.
5 phones simultaneously, so say in a family.
Right.
Family that wants to do that.
But we understand that. I mean, you use it in your practice, so I mean, absolutely, you can.
So what you do is you eliminate it. You delete the app from the other phone that you don't want it on. So once it's deleted, then there's space to put it on, those other phones. When you use the resonance device, it has the capability of storing all of your clients or family members or friends or whoever else you want to use the device on in the device itself, so that when you do the scanning on them, you can be able to do that either if they're present or not present. It's a whole other subject matter that I won't go into tonight. We can talk about it in a further situation. But since we're using the concept of quantum physics here, and many of the practitioners that work in the field of energy medicine, I mean, you've heard of Reiki, you've heard of prayer healing. It has a function where it's able to do the same kind of a thing at a distance. So as long as you have those people programmed into your device and you have a resonance device, you're able to use that similar kind of a function in terms of treating at a distance, just like Reiki, therapeutic prayer, and things of that nature.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I think that's come to most of our end of our questions for tonight, and we like to keep it to an hour. We're already at an hour and 18 minutes. So I think, Sheila, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, I appreciate that, Terry. Thank you so much for co-hosting this doctor and medical professional call with us that we have every Wednesday. So we hope that you will come back next week and we'll have a larger seating space and you will bring your guest. We know that it's getting ready to get really crazy here come 24 hours when we open up the USA market. And pretty soon you're going to have guests on this call that actually are experiencing the Healy for themselves. So I can't hardly wait. I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your evening and giving us your time and energy to be on this call tonight. Thank you, Doc Steve. Thank you, Dr. Quigless. And thank you, Dr. Gordon Jones. We appreciate you, and we couldn't do this call without you. So we'll see everyone next week. We do have presentations coming up tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central and Friday night at 8 p.m. Central. So get with the person